everyone, today I'm going to tell you chapter 12. Let's start now. I went on to ask Buck if any of the Grangerfords or the Shepherdsons had been killed in the past few months. "Oh yes," replied Buck calmly. "One of ours and one of theirs. We had a lot of funerals." Later, when I was going up to my room, Miss Sophia came out of her room. She told me in a whisper that she had forgotten her Bible at the church. "Will you please go and get it for me?" she asked. I nodded, and I went down to the church. I found a Bible, but it seemed weird to me that Miss Sophia was so nervous. So I shook the Bible to see if there was anything inside it. A paper fluttered out. It read 2:30 p.m. I stuffed the note back into the Bible, and I went to the Grangerfords' house to give it to Miss Sophia. She said I was the best boy in the world. Later, I decided to go for a walk along the river. Then I noticed that a black slave was following me. The slave was a man named Jim. He asked me if I wanted to see any snakes in the swamp. I thought this was very weird, but I agreed. I followed him to the swamp. First we were ankle deep in the water for a while, and then we came to dry land. Jack told me that I should go ahead, and he would go back to the house. I pushed aside some vines, and there was Jim. I was so happy to see him. Jim told me that the steamboat hadn't completely destroyed the raft. He'd been repairing it, and it will be ready in a few days. He said that when he had managed to swim ashore a little while after I did. When he saw me going into the house, he hid beside some trees, and then at the next morning he went out to the house, and he asked the slaves working there. They showed him a place in the swamp where he could stay. So I went back to that night. I went up to my room and slept. The next morning when I woke up, the house was strangely quiet. I went downstairs, and Jack told me that Miss Sophia had run away to marry Honey Shepherdson. The old man, Colonel Grangerford, had rode away with his two sons to kill Honey and bring Miss Sophia back. The Grangerford woman had gone to a relative's house to get more help. I ran outside and snuck beside some bushes until I came to a country store that sold supplies. Some of the Grangerfords I heard shooting. I thought it wasn't safe, so I climbed up into a tree. I looked down. The Grangerfords, including Buck and his cousin, were hiding behind were staying behind some barrels and piles of wood, while the Shepherdsons were in the store. They were shooting each other. I saw several men shot dead on both sides, and then the Shepherdsons rode away. I called down to Buck from the tree. Buck was crying and cursing. Buck was crying and cursing the Shepherdsons. He told me that his father and both of his older brothers had been killed. He asked me to stay up in the tree and watch for the Shepherdsons to come back. I said I would. And then gunfire broke out again. The Shepherdsons had circled Buck and his cousin. Now they were shooting to the two of them. The next thing that happened made me feel so sick that I almost fell out of the tree. I still had nightmares about it. The Shepherdsons killed Buck and his cousin. Then they fled. I was so scared that I stayed up in the tree until night. Then I climbed down from the tree and ran as fast as I could to the swamp. Jim, we need to leave. I shouted, but I heard no answer. When I pushed aside the shrubs, I didn't saw Jim anywhere. I ran alongside the riverbank, calling for Jim. Then I heard a soft voice say, "Is that you, Huck? I'm over here. Don't make any noise." It was Jim's voice. I had never been so happy to hear his voice. I ran along the riverbank and soon found him with the raft. We go aboard and set off on the Mississippi River again. I was glad to get away from the field, and Jim was glad to get away from the swamp. That's all for today. If you want to know what Huckleberry Finn did, wait till tomorrow. Thank you for listening. Goodbye. See you next day.